Welcome to Echoes of Time, a journey into the forgotten worlds and the secrets they left behind.
Okay, picture this. You're 70 years old, sitting in a damp jail cell, and you're given a choice. Apologize for what you believe in, leave your home forever, and live out your days in complete silence, or stay and be executed. Now, this wasn't some thought experiment. This was the final, defining choice for a man whose decision would literally echo for thousands of years and shape the very foundations of Western thought.
You really have to start right here with his most famous quote. For Socrates, this wasn't just some catchy phrase. No, this was the absolute bedrock of his entire life. The belief that our main job as human beings is to think, to question everything, and to truly understand ourselves and the world we live in.
And that's the real kicker, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing to have a principle you believe in, it's a whole other thing to be willing to die for it. For Socrates, this wasn't a philosophical debate anymore. This was very, very real.
So, to understand how he got to this point, we need to rewind about 2,500 years, back to ancient Athens. We're right there in that jail cell with him, a 70-year-old former soldier who's about to face the ultimate price for just asking too many questions.
The charge against him was corrupting the youth. Basically, the most powerful men in the city had him backed into a corner. They thought they had him. They gave him an out, an easy way out. Just shut up, disappear, and you can live. Or keep talking, and you die.
So how on earth did it come to this? His whole journey didn't start with him claiming to have all the answers. Actually, it was the exact opposite. It started with this shocking idea that he knew, well, that he knew nothing at all.
You see, the story goes that a friend of his went to the famous Temple of Apollo at Delphi and asked the oracle, the voice of the god, if anyone in Athens was wiser than Socrates. And the oracle's answer was a simple, flat no. When Socrates heard this, he was completely baffled. He was like, how can that be? I'm just a regular guy, a soldier. I know for a fact that I know nothing.
So he set out on this mission. And get this, he wasn't trying to prove the oracle was right. He was trying to prove it was wrong. He figured, okay, I'll just go find someone who is actually wise, and that will prove the oracle made a mistake, and I really am ignorant. His search for truth began by trying to find it in other people.
Well, this little personal quest quickly turned into a public spectacle. He became known as the gadfly of Athens. You know, like a really annoying horsefly that just keeps buzzing around, stinging the powerful and waking them up from their lazy, comfortable thinking. And the young people of the city, they absolutely loved it.
Just imagine the scene, right? A powerful politician just gave some big, fiery speech in the public square. And suddenly, this kind of scruffy-looking guy in bare feet just walks right up to him. The whole crowd gets quiet. They know what's coming.
His technique was so simple, but it was just brilliant. He'd start with a really basic concept that everyone thought they understood, something like justice. He'd ask the politician to define it, and the guy would give some confident textbook answer, like, oh, justice is giving people what they deserve.
And then, bam, the follow-up. Socrates would take that definition and just turn it right back on them, showing them a huge flaw in their logic. He'd ask something like, okay, but what if the people want something that's unjust? Is it still justice to give it to them? And suddenly, the politician is just stuck. His whole argument just crumbles in front of this huge crowd.
And the kids ate it up. The young people of Athens, including a brilliant young guy you might have heard of named Plato, they saw this for what it was, a masterclass in how to actually think. Here was a man with no power, no money, taking down the most important people in the city with nothing but pure logic. So they started following him everywhere, learning how to question authority themselves.
As you can probably guess, while the youth were being inspired, the establishment was getting furious. I mean, you can only publicly humiliate so many powerful people before they decide they need to get rid of you. The gadfly had become a genuine threat.
So the city's elite, they had a big problem. Their own kids were now coming home from the marketplace and asking them these same kinds of uncomfortable questions. The authority they used to have was just slipping away. So they got together and they decided this has to stop. They conspired to put Socrates on trial and shut him up for good.
Of course, the official charges weren't, he made us all look like idiots in public. No, they had to dress it up. So they accused him of corrupting the youth and, for good measure, of insulting the city's gods. It was a classic move. Use the system to crush a voice you can't beat in an open argument.
So the stage was set for this epic trial. But here's the thing. Socrates didn't walk in there like a defendant begging for his life. He walked in like a teacher, ready to give Athens one last,
unforgettable lesson.
When he was asked to answer the charge of corrupting the youth, Socrates basically just shrugged. He said, if teaching young people to think for themselves and to spot corruption is a crime, then yeah,
This
sure,
was
I'm guilty.
Echoes of
Proudly.
Time. If you love
The judges were just
powerful history
stunned
stories,
by his nerve.
subscribe
They asked
and
him,
continue
"Why
the
aren't you
journey
begging for
with
mercy
us."
like everyone else does?" And Socrates shot back that for his service to Athens, for waking everyone up, he shouldn't be punished. He should be given a freaking award and free meals for life. As you can imagine, this did not go over well with the court. Seeing that they couldn't break him, the judges gave him that one last choice, the one we started with. They were probably hoping he'd just take the easy way out. Look, just go into exile. Live a nice, quiet life. All you have to do is stop asking questions, stop teaching.
Socrates looked right at them, totally calm. He knew exactly what he was choosing between, a life that had no meaning or a death that did. And he told them, look, you can kill me, but you can't kill the truth. You can strike down my body, but the ideas, they're not going anywhere. He chose death.
And his execution? It wasn't the end of his story, not even close. It was the explosive beginning of his real legacy. The poison hemlock they made him drink became the very seed from which a whole new world of thinking would grow.
In his final days, his wealthy friends actually arranged for his escape. The guards were bribed, the coast was clear, he could have just walked out, but he refused. He said that to run away would be to admit he was guilty, that his whole life's work was wrong. He had lived under the laws of Athens his whole life, and to break them now would make him a hypocrite. His final act had to be one of total integrity. And that sacrifice kicked off an incredible chain reaction. His death didn't silence his ideas. It supercharged them through his student, Plato. Plato was so devastated and inspired that he founded his academy, the first real university in the Western world, to make sure the Socratic method would never die. Plato's best student was Aristotle, who took these ideas and built entire systems of logic and science. And who did Aristotle tutor? A young prince named Alexander, who would become Alexander the Great. And as he conquered the known world, he spread these Greek ideas of reason and inquiry everywhere he went.
Which really brings us to the final amazing point. We have no idea who those judges were. We don't remember the names of the politicians who wanted him gone, their power, their city, their entire empire. It's all turned to dust. But the name Socrates and the simple, dangerous idea that we should never ever stop questioning, that's immortal. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What is it about a courageous idea that makes it so much more powerful and so much more lasting than any empire?